They never planned for Baldwin Village to become a battlefield. Los Angeles has always been a city of border street lines, district lines, racial lines, gang lines. But in one quiet pocket of South LA, surrounded by palm trees and low-rise apartments, a different kind of boundary was drawn. One defined by fear, retaliation, and blood. Locals call it Baldwin Village. The streets call it the jungles. What happened here would spark one of the most violent and unpredictable street wars in modern LA history, the Black P Stones versus 18th Street. A conflict so explosive it didn't just threaten gang members. It swallowed civilians, families, and entire neighborhoods. This is the story of how a turf line became a war zone, and how that war evolved into something far bigger than anyone expected. To understand the chaos that came later, you have to know how the players arrived on the board. The Black P Stones didn't start in La. Their roots stretch back to Chicago in the late 1950s under Jeff Fort, one of the most influential street leaders in American history. But the Stones didn't become a West Coast force until the late 60s, when a young member named T. Rogers landed in Baldwin Village. What he built became legendary: the jungles, the most infamous P Stone set outside Chicago. At first glance, Baldwin Village earned its nickname from the dense greenery, tall palms, and tropical plants that covered the area. But as the years passed, the name jungles took on a new meaning, one tied to crack cocaine, drive-bys, and red flags catching the wind like warnings. Their territory sat boxed in: Exposition to the north, La Brea to the west, Crenshaw to the east, Jim Gilliam Park at the south. A smaller branch, the Biddy, operated further north in Arlington Heights. Just outside this pocket, another force was growing: 18th Street Gang, one of the most powerful Latino gangs in Los Angeles. Born in the 1960s near 18th and Union, they expanded like wildfire, nearly 15,000 members across LA County. With cliques stretching into other states and even other countries, they had enemies everywhere. But none more violent, none more personal than their feud with the Bloodsets on the Westside. And the Stones were at the center of it. The early tension wasn't headline-worthy. It was small, simple, deadly in slow motion. A bumped shoulder outside the liquor store, crossed-out graffiti on a wall, side-eyes exchanged across a parking lot, tiny insults that meant everything in gang culture. For years, both sides kept score quietly, but by 1998, the quiet was gone. Physical fights broke out. Shots echoed in alleys. Police felt something building, but they couldn't say who was pushing or who was reacting. Each blamed the other. Each believed the other was creeping too far. Then came the gang injunction, city-drawn maps attempting to trap movement inside Baldwin Village. Instead of stopping violence, it supercharged it. If the city drew lines around the jungles, that meant the turf had value, and value meant war. The war's true beginning didn't come with a handshake or a declaration. It came with a party. A wrong place, wrong time moment that changed everything. January 31st, 2004. A group of 12 friends, young, early 20s, pulled up near Arlington Avenue and Adams Boulevard, deep inside P Stone territory. They weren't gang members. They weren't looking for trouble. They were just trying to get into a house party. But someone else was watching. A P Stone affiliate named Leon stepped from the shadows, hand on his waistband, suspicion already loaded. "What y'all doing over here?" Before anyone could answer, the gun came out. The group tried to back away. They promised they didn't want problems. But as they walked toward their cars, Leon ran up, pressed a gun into Miguel's body, demanded his Celtics jersey, then pivoted to Jose's car and opened fire. Witnesses heard as many as 30 shots. By the time the victims escaped several blocks away, 3 people were dying inside the car. Shamba gone. Jason gone. Jose hit 6 times, clinging to life. Over 30 shell casings littered the street. Leon and another Stone, Frank, were arrested and given 2 consecutive life sentences. This wasn't just violence. This was escalation. By the end of 2004, everyone in South LA understood. Baldwin Village wasn't the jungles anymore. It was a war zone. This war wasn't just gang against gang. It became gang against anyone who looked like the enemy. September 24, 2006. Cesar Avala was standing outside his car, his wife and daughters inside. A silver vehicle pulled up. A voice yelled, "F K18. Black P Stones." Then gunfire. Cesar was hit twice. His 3-year-old daughter was hit once fatally. The shooter, a P Stone member named Banks, was convicted. Another family shattered in a rivalry they weren't part of. A year later, March 19, 2007, another innocent man, Carlos, was walking into his own apartment complex. 3 stones approached. "Where you from? You know where you at, right?" Carlos wasn't affiliated. He tried to explain. They didn't care. He was robbed, beaten, and shot while running for his life. The message was clear. Neutrality didn't exist here anymore. The conflict intensified into something organized, calculated. September 20, 2007. Inside deep 18th Street territory. Erwin and Mario were driving when 2 vehicles boxed them in. 3 attackers jumped out and fired 12 rounds into the SUV. Erwin was grazed. Mario was hit twice. That same afternoon, another 18th Street member, Victor Campos, was shot outside his own building. 5 days later, again in the same area, 2 men crashed into another car and immediately opened fire on an 18th Street member. These were not random. These were coordinated hits. Police eventually tied 3 Stones, James Fletcher and Jerry Burke, among them to these attacks. The war had flipped. The Stones weren't just defending the jungles anymore. They were invading. Violence doesn't stay contained. It spreads. New Year's Eve, 2007. Dwight, known as Pee-wee from the Rolling 20 Bloods, entered a swap meet with a borrowed gun, trying to hide his tattoos before entering rival turf. At the same time, 18th Street members Danny and Melvin arrived. They crossed paths, locked eyes, and Dwight asked, "Where y'all from?" Danny answered, "18th Street." 2 seconds later, gunfire. Melvin was hit twice. Danny fled, worried his parole status would land him back in prison. Witnesses and surveillance later tied Dwight to the shooting. He received 47 years to life. This wasn't even part of the Stones' 18th Street feud. But in Los Angeles gang politics, every spark has potential to ignite a new fire. Nothing shook LA harder than what happened next. March 2, 2008. Jazz, a standout student and football star with a 4.2 GPA, scholarship offers from Stanford and Rutgers, and a future most people dream of, was walking home wearing a red Spider-Man backpack. He wasn't a gang member. He wasn't involved. He was just a kid heading home. An 18th Street member named Pedro Espinoza, freshly released, spotted him. Saw the red. Made an assumption. "Where you from?" Jazz didn't answer fast enough. Pedro fired once into his stomach. Then, as Jazz lay on the ground, hands up, Pedro circled around and executed him. The outrage was immediate, national, and furious. Jazz's death exposed something Los Angeles tried to hide. This war wasn't about territory anymore. It was about identity, appearance, color, timing. Pedro was sentenced to death, but the damage was irreversible. By 2009, the feud reached its most chaotic stage. One night, 18th Street members were partying at an apartment known as The Spot. Daniel, a member wearing a GPS ankle monitor, took a woman's Jeep without permission, grabbed another member, and drove straight into blood territory. At 27th and Cimarron, he ran a stop sign and nearly hit Thomas, a civilian. Thomas swerved. Daniel opened fire. 2 shots. Thomas died. Minutes later, Daniel and Carlos spotted cousins Trey and Rashid walking on the sidewalk. "Hey, what's up, blood?" No conversation, just gunfire. Trey was grazed. Rashid barely survived. Daniel received 90 years to life. Carlos got 80. Meanwhile, another Stone named Casey was shot in the head by 2 Latino gunmen. In the biddy, he survived. But a week later, Stones retaliated. On Spalding Avenue, a gunman, Michael, a BPS member, opened fire on James and Mauricio. James died. Michael was sentenced to 80 years to life. By now, 2 things were undeniable. The war was out of control. Nobody was safe. Not gang members, not friends, not families, not strangers. As the years passed, police crackdowns, federal indictments, and massive gang sweeps reduced open warfare. But the rivalry never vanished. It evolved. Today, Baldwin Village and the Westside feel calmer. Not peaceful, just quieter. More calculated. The war moved from streets to screens. Social media insults, music videos, disrespect that never disappears, only waits for someone to react. Old beef, new generation, same tension. And in neighborhoods like the jungles, history has a way of circling back. This was the untold reality behind one of Los Angeles' most unpredictable and bloodstained street wars, a conflict that rewired entire neighborhoods and left scars that still echo through the city today. If you want deeper dives into Westside politics, federal takedowns, hidden alliances, or the stories the streets don't talk about out loud, you're in the right place. You're watching Echoes of Crime. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because the streets may go quiet, but their echoes never die. Because the streets may go quiet, but their echoes never die.